After 5 years of caring for my ill spouse, I discovered texts he sent to another woman, saying he was only biding time until I passed away so he could take it all. My name is Elena and I sacrificed half a decade of my life to serve as a caretaker, housekeeper, and emotional target for a man who was quietly planning my death. I am 42. I run a thriving interior design business. Or, I used to before my husband, Greg, became ill. Greg and I had been together for 15 years. We were seen as the successful duo in our community. He worked in real estate development and I handled the aesthetics of the homes. We were financially secure, had a wide social circle, and aimed to retire young and see the globe. Everything changed with an accident 5 years back. Greg was in a serious car crash, driving home on a wet night when his vehicle left the road and went off a bridge. He lived, but the doctors said the injury to his spine was severe. He will probably never walk again, the surgeon informed me solemnly. He'll require constant attention. He'll have some use of his upper body. His day-to-day living will completely rely on those helping him. I didn't think twice. I was his wife for better or worse in illness and health, correct? I'll look after him, I stated. I scaled back my firm. I set up my office at home to stay near him. We modified the whole ground floor for his wheelchair. I figured out how to manage catheters, how to avoid pressure sores, how to move a 200-pound man from bed to chair without injuring myself. For 5 years, my universe narrowed to the confines of Greg's room. Greg was a difficult person to care for. Initially he was withdrawn, which I could sympathize with. But that turned into neediness. Then, into meanness. This soup is cold, Elena, he'd say sharply, flinging the spoon down. Can't you get anything right? I'm stuck in this broken body and you fail at warming soup. I'm sorry, Greg, I'd reply, retrieving the spoon. I was on a work call. Oh, you're important clients, he'd mock. Must be wonderful to have a life. I'm just a useless thing decaying here. Guilt. That was his tool. He wielded it to cut me down, day after day. I lost touch with friends because Greg would spiral if I was gone longer than an hour. I quit the gym. I put on 30 pounds. My blood pressure climbed dangerously high. My physician warned me. You have to lower your stress, Elena, Dr. Vance said. Caregiver exhaustion is serious. It can be fatal. When I shared this with Greg, he scoffed. You're stressed, he asked. Try having no feeling in your legs. Then tell me about stress. So I pushed on. I worked all day to cover the enormous medical costs and our house payment. And I tended to him all night. I was drained. I felt hollow. The deception came to light on a Tuesday. Greg had been grumbling about his tablet, saying it was sluggish. Trying to be a good wife, I went and purchased the latest, top-tier iPad Pro. I brought it home to set it up while he slept, wanting to surprise him. I took his old tablet to move over his data. I knew his password our wedding year, 2014. I unlocked it. It began syncing. Suddenly a notification appeared. It was from an app named Signal. Greg had no business contacts on Signal. The preview read, "Is the old woman gone yet? I'm sick of waiting." My chest tightened. I stared. I tapped the alert. It opened the app. There was only one chat. The contact was saved as Nurse Sarah. Sarah was a physical therapist who visited us 2 years prior. We'd let her go because she charged too much, or so Greg claimed. I began to read. And as I did, my world shattered. Sarah, she's still alive. Sadly, her doctor said her blood pressure is terrible yesterday. Hoping for a stroke soon. Greg, I miss you. I hate that you have to be in that house with her. Sarah, it's worth it. If I leave her now, she takes half. If she dies, I get it all. The insurance is $3 million alone, plus the house and her company. Greg, are you certain you can keep this up? 5 years is a long act. Sarah, it's simple. I just lie here and let her do everything. She's so ridden with guilt. She sees nothing. I walked around the living room last night while she was out. Felt great to move. I set the iPad on the counter. He wasn't disabled. Not anymore. He was pretending. He was walking. And he wasn't just using me, he was actively hoping I would die. He was pressuring me, straining me, wearing me down, hoping my heart would fail so he could collect my insurance and leave with his lover. A sharp pain hit my chest. For a moment I thought, this is it. He wins. It's a heart attack. But then the pain transformed. It became flame. A cold, blue flame. I didn't rush in to yell. I didn't confront him. I placed the iPad down. I breathed deeply. If he wanted to play a long con, I would show him I was the expert. I needed proof. Solid, undeniable proof. The following day I told Greg a major project required me to go into the city. You can't leave me, he whined. What if I need help? What if I fall? I booked a temporary nurse for the day, I lied. She'll be here at 9. I don't want some stranger, he shouted. It's final, Greg. I have to work to fund your care. I left, but I didn't go to the city. I parked down the road and crept back through the neighbor's yard. Months before, I'd put in nanny cams for safety. He knew about those and was always cautious. But he didn't know about the new ones I installed yesterday, tiny cameras hidden in smoke alarms and shelves. I sat in my car and watched the feed on my phone. At 9:30 a.m., when no nurse appeared, Greg began calling me. I let it ring out. At 10 a.m., the wonder occurred. On my screen, I watched my supposedly paralyzed husband sit up in bed effortlessly. He swung his legs over, stood up, stretched, and walked out of the room. He went to the kitchen, took a beer and turned on the TV in the living room. His walk was normal, no sign of injury. Then the doorbell chimed. Greg answered. It was a blonde woman, Sarah. She leapt into his arms. He lifted her, my husband who claimed he couldn't lift a spoon, and kissed her. She's gone all day, Greg laughed. The fool thinks she's working. Let's go upstairs, Sarah said. I hate being in her bed, but it's exciting. I recorded it all. I saved it in multiple places. I had proof of the deceit and the affair. Now I needed to ruin him. The next day I visited a lawyer, a pitbull named Mr. Sterling. I showed him the footage and the messages. This is fraud, Mr. Sterling said. Insurance fraud, benefits fraud. He's been collecting state disability. Yes, I replied. And I've been listing him as a dependent. We can crush him in court, Sterling stated. But what is your goal for the marriage? I want him to have nothing, I said. I want him to walk out of my house with only what he's wearing. Actually, not even that. I bought those clothes. We formed a strategy. Greg adored sympathy. He loved playing the victim. So I decided to give him the largest audience of his life. I told Greg I wanted to host a party marking 5 years of survival. It's a significant point, Greg, I said. You lived through the accident. We should honor your courage. He wavered. I'm not sure, Elena. I've been very weak. We'll have it here, I insisted. We'll invite everyone, my clients, our old friends, the neighbors. People should witness how strong you are. I was even considering a fundraiser for a new experimental surgery. With a crowd, we could gather donations. His eyes sparked at the mention of money. All right, he said. Let's do it. I arranged the party for 2 weeks later. I invited everyone. I even invited Sarah, sending an anonymous note saying a friend suggested her. I knew she wouldn't skip a chance to see Greg. The evening of the event, the house was full. There was food, music, and around 50 people. Greg sat in his wheelchair in the middle of the living room, holding a blanket over his legs, looking weak and sorrowful. He was telling someone about his constant pain. I stood by the fireplace and tapped a glass. Everyone, may I have your attention? The room quieted. Greg smiled at me, expecting praise. 5 years ago, our lives were altered, I started. Greg had his accident. And for 5 years, I have given every moment to his care. I cooked, cleaned, and bathed him. People nodded kindly. But recently, I witnessed a miracle. A true miracle. And I wanted to share it with all of you tonight. Greg looked puzzled. Elena, what is this? I think it's better to show you, I said. I aimed a remote at the large TV above the fireplace. The video started. It wasn't a tribute. It was the footage from last Tuesday. It showed Greg standing in the kitchen, drinking a beer, scratching his back, doing a little dance. The room gasped in unison. Greg's face lost all color. What is this? He stammered. This is fake. It's computer made. Is it? I asked. Then the video switched to the door. It showed Greg letting Sarah in, lifting her, kissing her. I looked at Sarah in the crowd. She tried to hide behind a large plant. Sarah, I called out. You're in this too. Everyone turned. She sprinted for the exit. I turned back to the screen. Then the text messages flashed up in large white text on black. Is the old woman gone yet? I'm sick of waiting. Hoping for a stroke soon. If she dies, I get everything. The quiet in the room was thick with revulsion. I looked at Greg. He was trembling. You monster, a neighbor whispered. Elena, please, Greg begged, voice shaking. I can explain. It was part of therapy. I was trying to challenge myself. You were waiting for me to die, I said calmly. You were deliberately stressing me to death. I walked over to him. Well, Greg, I have good news and bad news. Elena, please, he pleaded. The good news is I'm not dying. My doctor says once I lose about 200 pounds of useless weight, my heart will be perfect. I patted his shoulder. The bad news is I sold the house. What, he shrieked, actually forgetting to act and sitting upright. I sold it yesterday to a builder. This is a goodbye party, Greg. It's being demolished on Monday. You need to go. You can't, he yelled. This is my home. Actually, it was in my name, I said. And since you are disabled and don't provide, I made the choice. I took papers from my bag and dropped them in his lap. And these are our divorce papers, a restraining order, and a notice from Social Security. I sent them the video of you dancing. They want their money back. Greg stared at the papers. He looked at the crowd of former friends, now gazing at him with utter contempt. He knew it was over. Then he did the only thing left. He stood up in front of everyone and charged at me. I'll end you, he screamed. He didn't reach me. My brother Mike, who plays semi-pro football, stepped forward and took him down hard. Greg cried out, grabbing his back. My back. You broke my back. Oh, quit it, Mike said, standing over him. We all know you're faking. The police came 10 minutes later. I'd called them earlier to report a possible disturbance and fraud. They watched the video. They took statements from the 50 witnesses who saw him stand and attack me. They arrested Greg for benefits fraud and assault. They led him out in handcuffs, walking on his own 2 feet. The fallout was total for him. The state demanded repayment for 5 years of disability funds over $100,000 plus fines. With proof of the fraud and his attempt to harm me through stress, the judge granted an immediate divorce and gave me all assets. He received nothing. Sarah, the other woman, lost her therapist license for her part in the medical deceit. Greg tried to sue me for recording him, but in our state, it's legal to film in your own home for security. Since he was committing fraud on the recordings, they were allowed as evidence. He ended up with nowhere to live. I saw him about 6 months later. I was driving my new convertible downtown, stopped at a light. A man was on the corner with a cardboard sign. It was Greg. He looked awful thin, grimy, and actually ill now. His sign read homeless veteran. Anything helps. He was never a veteran, just lying again. I lowered my sunglasses. He saw me. His eyes went wide. He stepped toward the car. Elena. Elena, please. I'm starving. I looked at him. I reached into my purse, took out a granola bar and tossed it out. It landed in a puddle. Be careful, I said as the light turned green. Don't bend down too quickly. You might hurt your back. I drove off. I went to the gym that afternoon. I ran 5 miles. My heart rate was steady. My blood pressure was just right.